This pattern really on the line of perhaps the United States Army with the ranks and explain that.
Well, actually, it was based upon the British Army, because that's it's starting in London, and the ranking system and its organizational structure based on that, because it was an army taking on the war of sin and the war of poverty and other things that people were facing at the time and continue to face in our society today. So when we look at the military rank, people confuse us a lot with, are we a part of the military service? Or, you know, sometimes if we're at the airport, are we a part of the airlines? So it's a recognized symbol, and we're in an enviable position because people recognize us in one sense, but they don't know a whole lot about us.
They recognize you, but they don't know who you are.
And they're not sure exactly what it is we do. But they understand that we're about the business of doing good, and they trust us, as we have been favored with the status of being America's favorite charity and people supporting us, but really still not knowing beyond the bell ringers and beyond a place to take their old clothes and their furniture what we do. And there are a number of things that we are doing to help people right here in Nashville and around the world.
Let's give you an opportunity to talk about some of the things that you're doing by talking about some of your programs and some of your activities. And what we'd like to do here, and I'm almost sure that we'll be interrupted for our first commercial break, and we'll simply continue this when we return. But what we'd like to do more than anything is to simply have you to look at the multitude of programs that you have at the Salvation Army and to talk about those programs and some of the activities that you're involved in. And we'll spend the rest of this segment as well as the next segment talking about that kind of activity, so that our population will have a very good idea about what you do.
The first thing is, over the course of a year, we will touch the lives of some 50,000 people in the greater Nashville area. So that's how wide encompassing our services do reach. It starts anywhere with child care, Care for Kids, which operates 5 days a week from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., caring primarily for the homeless who have made their way to our transitional housing program, but also servicing the low-income folks of East Nashville. So there are, at any given time, 37 children in that daycare program, providing affordable daycare round the clock. From that, the transitional housing program, people who have suddenly find themselves homeless by way of eviction, not being able to keep their rent up, whatever crisis has hit their home. Many times it's a drug addiction or an alcohol problem, a breakup of a family, because mainly what we see is a single mother with a couple children coming into that program. And they could be there for months, they could be there for a year. It just depends on that individual case. But our goal is to help them to stand on their own 2 feet and to have a job to go to and a place of their own when they leave that program. And we've seen some good success stories of folks coming through that. And they've got case managers who work with them to make sure if they need schooling, if they need training, that they get to those facilities and places that can provide that, so that when they do leave, they are on their own and stable. And
so this is all basically in your transitional housing and your child care activities, those some of the child care activities that you're involved
and these
in.
are all in our area command offices on Dickerson Road. And so it's all centrally located, and we keep open 24 hours a day with monitoring there, so that it's a safe place for them to come, and a good service is being provided. We handle 13 families at any given time, 8 single women, and then in a separate part of the building, with a separate entrance, is a men's lodge, where we'll sleep 45 men on any given night, getting them in out of the cold. Most of these are men who work day jobs, day labor, and who need a place to stay. Some of them have their own different problems that they're dealing with, and we've got folks there in the lodge that help counsel them and keep them going on a regular basis.
You've got quite a large staff in terms of doing and reaching out and doing this. Let's talk about that staff.
About 42 employees altogether that work out of our facilities in Nashville to maintain all those programs. Because we are open around the clock, you've got to have someone at all hours of the night dealing with those things. Now, we do provide direct assistance, which is a mainline service that the Army provides, and providing food and clothing, furniture assistance. When there's a family that's a victim of a fire or a flood, we'll help them to get reestablished in their homes again. We also administer Project Help, and we're busy right now in the winter months of helping mainly the elderly who are on a fixed income, and anyone of any age who's on a disability income to keep their utility bills paid up so they don't get disconnected during these cold winter months. And it might average about $180, $200 assistance that we will give them with their utility bill. And some of them are hit pretty hard this year because there's been a great increase in the gas rates. So they've seen a significant climb in their bills. And we've had this unfortunate colder winter weather than we've experienced over the past few years, where it's been pretty mild. So we're quite busy with that program, and will be through the end of March.
You know, Major, we're getting ready for our first commercial break, after which we'll come back and talk about some of the other activities and some of the other programs that you're involved in. But this is essentially what we want you to do, to give us that kind of information so that people can become more familiar with the Army. And of course, we'll be back with our audience following this short commercial break.